Good evening to you all. I welcome you both in the studio and at the receiving terminals to this evening session. The topic of the session is concept, scope and features of distance education. This topic has relevance to the students of B.Ed program of IGNU, particularly for those who opted distance education course as a specialization in the second year of their program. Of course, it is also useful to other students who are pursuing postgraduate diploma in distance education, or in general to all the students of IGNU who do not know much about distance education except reading their course materials and getting their degrees. So having a clear concept of what distance education is totally different from reading the materials received by them and understanding, writing examinations, before that doing assignments, etc. That is totally different thing. So that way it is useful to all the students of IGNU in general and to the students of B.Ed program in particular. At the same time, who want to know something about distance education would also be benefited by this session. So welcome you all to this session. So what actually is the concept of distance education? The moment people listen distance education, they will develop some concept. What exactly it is? How one can do the program through distance education? What all one has to do? What all it consists of? So they develop a kind of a picture of distance education which may be unclear, which may be blurring. For them to have clear concept will be altogether a different experience to go through this session. So the concept, scope and features of distance education you will be knowing in this session. Let us take the nature of distance education. As I was telling, the moment people listen about distance education, they develop their own picture of it. So actually it is a flexible system of education. So flexible in what terms? In many terms it is flexible. Take for example from admission. Admission is flexible because unlike in conventional systems of education where admission is done at particular point of time, maybe at the beginning of the year, which is rigid. Contrary to that, distance education is one which provides flexible admission facilities. At any point of the year, one can enroll for distance education programs, provided that kind of flexibility is introduced by any particular institution. For example, in IGNU, for majority of the programs, there were 2 times admission. Once in January and another in July. But now it has been converted into walk-in admissions, means any time on any day, particularly on working day, you go to any regional center or headquarters of the university, one can acquire the form and one can enroll oneself. That is how it is flexible. Similarly, study time. For example, in conventional systems, student has to attend the regular lecture in the rooms. If one person misses that particular lecture, then he doesn't get the chance to listen to it, because there is no such a facility in that system. That is why it is not flexible, it is rigid. So as far as study time is also concerned, it is flexible because student gets the material any point of time. He can read it. If he doesn't want to read for a week, yes, he can have that freedom. If he wants to read throughout the day, 24 hours without sleep, yes, he can do it. Or morning only, noon only, night only. Like that, all types of flexibilities one can see. Similar delivery of the content. For example, in distance education, different media are used. Print media is used. If the student is interested, he can look at the study material in print form, or one can watch a video program, or one can listen to audio program, or one can watch the telecast session like this going on. So in many ways one can receive the content. So delivery is in different modes. So that the flexibility is not there in conventional systems. So that is all rigid. Similarly, assessment. As far as assessment is concerned, the student is assessed when the student is reading the material itself. There is a inbuilt teacher who will be assessing him, or he himself will assess what he has read and understood. Next is assignment is there, through which the student is assessed based on what he does. Next is examinations. In case of particularly IGNU, which is offering programs to distance and open mode, there is a flexibility. One can appear for the exams 2 times, that is in December and in June. Now even that facility has been extended, and walk-in examinations have come into existence. Any time any student who is interested can take his examination according to his convenience. Of course, there are certain procedures, not that today I want to give straight away, I will go to regional center or headquarters, then ask the concerned person, okay, I wanted to give. That is not the case. Online means on any date, whichever is convenient, you fulfill certain formalities and give the examination. That is how it facilitates examination. In that sense also it is flexible. Similarly, evaluation. As far as evaluation is concerned, there is there are 2 types of evaluations. One is continuous evaluation, another is term and evaluation. Term and exams are conducted to do the term and evaluation of the student's performance, and continuous assessment is done through the instrument of assignments submitted by the students. So in all these terms, the distance education system is very flexible. It is non-conventional in nature. How is it non-conventional? As I told you, there are no rigid formalities that the student has to follow, whether in terms of attending to the lectures to receive the course content delivered by the students, or undergoing himself an evaluation process. These are all unconventional, and it is mostly learner centered. You can see the child goes to school every day. For example, in Delhi, the students rise up at 5 o'clock and start going to school at 6:30 maximum. By 7 or 7:30 they all will be in the schools. So because they are compelled by certain rigidities of the system, which is quite conventional in nature. Contrary to that, distance education is quite non-conventional. So the learner-centered thing is there. Student can be at home, or maybe in bus, or maybe in a plane. Everywhere the student can have his educational experience by going through the concerned material. Like that, it suits all his needs, and also it provides all types of teaching learning experiences that a student otherwise in conventional systems will get through the classrooms. Next is, it is based on media and technology. This distance education uses different kinds of media, because students are at one place and teachers are at other place, and the teaching will be taking place at some other place. Particularly when the teacher is not teaching, learning is taking place, because teaching is taking place at particular point of time and learning is taking place at other point of time, because the teachers have written materials at one point and it is being transacted through different modes by the students. Like that, multiple media comes to the rescue of the teachers as well as to the students. So this is one aspect of it. So that reflects its nature. It is technology and media based. Next is massive reach. For example, in conventional institutions, students are admitted to a particular class. Maybe there may be sections A, B, C, D. Even if there are 50 students in a particular session, there are 4 sections. Maximum 200 students are admitted. Only 200 students can be covered. Whereas distance education is having a potential to reach large mass of students. In that sense, it is having massive reach. It can reach those people who are in diverse geographical regions, those belonging to physically disabled category or socially, economically disadvantaged sections, etc. Next is mode of offer. Mode of offer is open and distance. Distance, because of the distance, it uses all the technologies that will reduce the distance between the students and the teachers. That is the reason why mode is through distance, and it is open, because to compensate for the distance between the teacher and student, it must be open. Open in the sense, whenever the student would like, he must be in a position to have his educational activity. So in that sense, it is open. Next is mode of institutions. Institutions are of two types. Institutions here means distance education institutions. These are called single mode institutions and dual mode institutions. Dual, by the name itself, dual means two modes are there. For example, in conventional universities, there are institutes of correspondence courses, or now they are called directorates of distance education. These are part of a conventional system. There is one mode going on, which is called conventional mode or face-to-face mode of teaching and learning. Simultaneously, the same institution is offering education through distance mode or through correspondence. That is the reason why that institution which is catering to the students through two modes, that is, one mode is face-to-face mode and another is distance mode, that is called dual mode institutions. Whereas there are institutions which offer only through particular mode. One is conventional universities which are not offering distance education programs, that is one mode, single mode. Whereas universities like IGNU and other open universities, which are catering only through distance modes. So this is also single mode institution, but distance and open mode, whereas conventional single mode is only through face-to-face mode. So that is the basic difference. So as far as distance education institutions are concerned, there are dual mode institutions, means universities offering both face-to-face and distance education programs, and single mode institutions like open universities and other institutions offering programs only through distance mode. Next, having understood this nature of distance education with broad features, you should be in a position to define the concept of distance education. But before we understand the concept, we can always have a look at what others have said. So there are many thinkers who have propounded many theories, and they have made the concept clear in their own sense. But there was always improvement that has gradually taken place. For example, Wedemeyer is one who has made an attempt to define distance education. He made a general attempt. According to him, distance education is one which provides independent study. This independent study can be on-campus independent study or off-campus independent study. For example, a student who has missed a conventional lecture in a classroom, how he can compensate for it? If there is a provision, even if he has not attended the lecture, then he can as well have the same at any other place. That is why in distance education such a provision is there, because it is always available, that lecture, any time one can see. This is how Wedemeyer made an attempt by calling it as an independent study, which facilitates independent study of the students, is called distance education. But later thinker Moore, he made his own concept. He revisited the concept with more improvement, because he simply made general kind of exposition of the concept of distance education. But what are all the things that facilitate distance education have been included in the definition of Moore. According to him, different media are used. Media may be print, media may be electronic or something else. So all these media will facilitate independent study. So here distance education is one which is facilitated by different media that comes to the rescue of the students and the teachers. Next is another author is Doman. Here it is not given in the slide. Another expert is Doman. He has provided for the supervision of the teaching learning processes, particularly the learning activities undertaken by the students. How one can monitor. For example, distance is there, student is at one place, teacher is at another place. But what the student is doing, how one can understand. Is there such a provision? In these two definitions which were given by Wedemeyer and Moore, there was no provision for such a supervision. So unless there is some kind of supervision over what the student is doing, how to guide him, because we wanted to make him perfect as a distance teachers. So in the absence of provision for supervision, it becomes very difficult, because he has to be guided in a stage by stage manner so that he can reach perfection. This is attempt made by Doman. Next is Otto Peters. According to his concept of distance education, it is an industrialized form of teaching. Industrialized form of teaching means it can cater to large number of students. Like for example, industry is a soap industry you take. There is no house nowadays without soap, except in certain remote tribal areas where people may not be even willing to use soaps, and they may have their own materials which they may be preparing and using. But whatever this industry like brush, paste, it caters to large number of people. That is the reason why, keeping those factors which are also used in distance education, he has called the distance education as industrialized form of teaching, because large number of students are provided with the same thing. For example, if the same soap people want to use, same quality thing will be available in all the homes, particularly made from particular industry. If students of IGNU who are enrolled for particular program, they all will be getting a particular type of material which is similar in all respects, so quality difference won't be there. So it is having that industrial quality which Otto Peter has conceived in giving his own definition. Next comes, so he called it a kind of division of labor, like in industry. They, because there is a production division, there is a distribution division, there is a marketing unit, like that. Here also in distance education institutions, there are various divisions that have been made. So there are units called schools, which will be having teachers who will be preparing the materials. There is a division called material printing division, which will be printing. And if the same division takes up the responsibility, then it will be called printing and distribution division, because they are distributing the materials also. If they are separate, then printing division will be separate and distribution division will be separate. Admission division, who looks after the admission processes. Then evaluation division, which conducts and evaluates the students' performance. Like that, there is a clear division of labor involved in these distance education institutions. That is the reason why Otto Peters called it as industrialized form of teaching. Next, Holmberg is another thinker who has called this distance education as a two-way postal communication. Here two-way postal communication need not be confined to correspondence education, but he has gone much ahead and he incorporated certain things in his definition, and this his definition provides for more types of experiences, like providing guidance to the students, because when the student submits assignments, how to guide him whether he is correct or not. If he is wrong, how to make him do better. So that is how he has come out with provision for didactic communication, which was propounded by Holmberg. In this thing it is more. Here this two-way postal communication is also facilitated by clear-cut written communications between the learners and students after the students start reading and doing something. So that monitoring process is made much more clear by John A. Bath in terms of two-way postal communication, because it doesn't end with simply sending of the materials by post. Thereafter, so many communications take place between the students and the teachers with clear written instructions, guidance, counseling, etc. So all these things encompass this didactic conversation through two-way postal communication. Next is David Stewart. He introduced a human element in the industrialized form of teaching and learning. He is an advocate of the necessity for personal contact between the student and teachers. Whatever the best materials are written, whatever the didactic communication that may take place between the distance teacher and the distance student through written communication, there is a need for a kind of face-to-face interaction between the teacher and the student of the distance education institution. That is essential, because that will altogether give different kind of interaction, which would be facilitating the movement of the student in his academic progress when certain hardships are there, which can only be resolved through personal interaction facility. So for that purpose, David Stewart has incorporated the element of human interaction in distance education. That is how in IGNU, for example, there is a counseling facility provided at all the study centers, where a student can, at any point of time during the academic year, particularly on the timings given, during those times he can go anytime and he can get his doubts cleared, or additional information received, or something to be submitted and discussed with different persons, maybe academic counselors who are trained by the teachers at the headquarters, or the study center staff dealing with the administrative matters, because he may have certain administrative problems which can be addressed by the study center only. For example, if there is no provision of study centers and no facility for the student to meet either with the academic counselors or this staff manning the study centers, then here in such cases, if there is no proper communication from the headquarters to the students, then he will get frustrated and his problems won't be resolved, and he may bid goodbye to the process of distance education. That is the reason why this human element in distance education plays very crucial role at crucial points of time in the progression of distance education student. So if we go into the details of these propositions and their basis for propounding this, you will be having better concept of it. For example, as per Wedemeyer, the learner is having autonomy. So that is one aspect, autonomy of the learner. As I have been telling, he can read at any point of his convenience, with any speed he likes, with any number of breaks he wants to have. All these things are possible. That is how he is having autonomy. Next is there is distance between teacher and the learner, and whatever the processes are followed, these processes must facilitate the missing parts of the direct interaction between the teacher and the students. That's the reason why it has led to a kind of social evolution, and so many such alternatives have begun. That is the reason why later thinkers have come out with different additional facilities or components in distance education. It that is distance education has a democratic philosophy underlying it. Because in conventional classroom teaching, what happens is there are students, they may be listening, but for example, some students goes off the mode and he doesn't pay attention to what the teacher is having. Then all of a sudden he recognizes that he has missed something, and he fails to understand what the teacher is talking later on, though he is quite attentive. There is actually gap, but he is very nearer to the teacher in terms of physical presence. Physical presence is just a few feet or few meters between the two, but there is a large communication gap or distance between the communication between the student and the teacher. So that distance is much more serious than the distance between student and teacher in the case of distance education. That distance is bridged by the teaching learning materials, because this material, for example, if he was reading then for a while he gets a nap or he enters into deep sleep, nothing wrong, because again once he wakes up he can start from the same point from where he has gone into sleep, which is not possible in conventional system. So this is the philosophy that is backing the distance education, which is more democratic, because this is not available only to few students. It is available to all the students who are able to read these materials. So that is how it is democratic. And this technology and communication facilities are also equally accessible to all the students, whichever are provided by the institution or the institutional centers, at the regional centers or at the study centers or at the headquarters, whosoever can come, they are all equally accessible. So that is how also it is democratic. Next is structured system. This distance education has its own structure. It doesn't happen in air because it is at a distance. So it has its structures that will be facilitating the transaction of the teaching learning activities or the processes through which the student is gradually carried from beginning to the end of the program and facilitated to acquire his degrees. According to Moore, it is a slightly advanced definition of independent study, and here there is though distance and autonomy both are common in both the definitions, Moore introduces dialogue and individualization. This dialogue, according to him, must facilitate more and more interaction, and it should facilitate each individual's dialogue. Each individual, in the sense, each learner must be in a position to interact with the student, with the teacher. So that is how it should cater more to the individualized interaction, and that was not there in the Wedemeyer's definition. So according to him, distance is a function of dialogue and structure. For example, there is a distance between the student and teacher, there is institution, but how this distance can be bridged is possible through what kind of dialogue is established, through what structures. For example, there is no dialogue at all, and there is no structure for that, for having a dialogue. Then what happens is distance is more. For example, there is no facility of interaction. Okay, student shall not write any letter to the student, he must understand himself. And there is no structure, even if he sends a letter, there nobody will receive the letter, because we have not given any address to which the student can write. So here there is neither structure nor the dialogue. In such a case, the distance will be more between the student and the teacher. For example, there is no dialogue, but structure is there. For example, if you ask a student to write to some place, but there is no facility, the person is not in a position to respond to that, because it has to be done by somebody else. For example, if the teachers have to do it, one teachers have clearly mentioned that we do not want to receive any letters, you send on your own by going to the materials. But in such cases, there won't be interaction facility between the students and the students. That was the second level. where there is a structure but there is no dialogue still. Third is where there is a scope for dialogue but no structure is there. For example, the institution is there, student can send the letters to the institution, and no teachers are there in that place, and letters are received by somebody else, and there is no structure through which he can the communication can be dispatched. Even if the teachers are aware, students will receive, but there is no mechanism how to send it, because if the student has to respond to all teachers and teacher has to spend from his own pocket for which the institution doesn't pay, then there is no structure, though there is a facility for dialogue. So all these things must be facilitated. Yes, okay, whatever the letter you receive, you respond accordingly. If the teacher is facilitated or there is something which can provide for that, or some other person who can take care of that, then there is scope for dialogue. But better facility is that there should be dialogue as well as the structures which are efficient. Then the distance would be nil, one can say. For example, if there is a facility for interaction through written mode, any student can write to these addresses or to these persons, he will get the reply within the given time, maybe in a week or 10 days. Then there is a facility for dialogue, because there is a facility for dialogue with a structure. That is through print mode he can have. Next, for example, telephone number is given. Okay, student is free to give a ring during this hours or during 24 hours. If there is a person to attend to the student 24 hours, then that is excellent facility, because structure is there and there is dialogue. Similarly, teleconference is going on, and at all, for example, at all study centers and regional centers, without any exception, there is a receiving facility for the transmissions, and student is given access to telephones, and you are free to interrupt even now. Whosoever is listening to this session or watching this session, you are free to give a ring to the numbers. Now, this is how the dialogue helps. For example, you can call into the studio to these numbers. Numbers are 2953 2844 and 45. You have to prefix 011. Then there is if you feel that it is a burden for you because you have to pay for it from your pocket, there is a toll-free number, that is 1800 112345. If you dial to this number, you don't have to pay anything. This is from the institution, and the institution has provided this facility. And here is a structure. I am available. So there is a facility for dialogue. There is a structure. So there is no distance at all between you and me. So you are free. Can I wait for your calls, if any? If you want to interact, you can interrupt. So this is how we can reduce the distance. Though I am at the headquarters in Delhi and you are at any other place in any part of the country, we can feel that there is no distance at all between. So this is how Moore has defined the distance as a function of dialogue and structure. Next is industrialized form of teaching and learning, which is given by Otto Peters. According to him, the rationale for calling it as industrialized form of teaching is that intention. Intention is to reach maximum, content, same content to all, methodology, clear-cut methodology, which is possible for everyone to go through, undergo, personal characteristics. If there are different personal characteristics, it will help in catering to those characteristics. Then socio-cultural background. If you are from different culture, different society, distance education is providing that facility, because if you are available here, you can come and collect your material if you want. If you are at some other place where only postal facility is available, then we will send it through post. So this industrialization must have some rationale. So the rationale is having all these characteristics. So industrialized characteristics of distance education include, as I was telling with reference to other definitions, division of labor, mass production of teaching learning materials, and systematization of work procedures and layout. So everything is made possible for the student right from the entry of the student into the program to the exit of the student till he completes the program and acquires his degree. Everything is facilitated through division of labor that is done in the form of different schools, divisions, units at headquarters and regional centers at the regional level and study centers at the grassroots level. Everything is systematized, and there is a clear layout of it, who will be doing where, what, through which means and all. It is all facilitated. So it reflects the clear industrial characteristics of distance education. Next is pedagogical aspects. Though it is a distance education mode and industrialized form of teaching and learning is there must be clear-cut teaching learning interaction that should take place. That covers under pedagogical aspects, and these pedagogical aspects are taken care of through educational communication through multiple media, which are all used by distance educations, particularly open universities, more so the one you are in, that is IGNOU, because all facilities in the sense printing material printed material is supplied. For those who just want to listen, for them there is audio cassette facility. For those people who want to watch video programs are made and distributed. And who wants to have interaction through teleconferencing sessions like this, you are free to interact. You can watch the schedule, take schedule from the published documents of IGNOU and listen to this telecast sessions, which are the schedules of which are communicated in advance, much in advance, so as to facilitate the learners to reach the receiving terminals of the transmissions. So this is how it is covering pedagogical aspects. Like that, more options are left for the learners to use at any point of time. So this is next is Holmberg, as we were discussing, or when I was talking about this in general. There is a didactic communication which is guided. So this has been introduced by Holmberg. According to him, this self-study, autonomous reading and independent study, these are all the three facilities that can facilitate the didactic conversation with technological facilities used by the institution to bridge the gap between the students and the teachers. So this may be in terms of real didactic conversation, means real time, like telephone or face-to-face interaction they can have, real time interaction, or they can have written or printed in interaction through written or printed material. Next is simulated interaction. One can, it means it is not real, it can be created for the facility of the student. So this internal that is taken care of in writing the materials, because the teacher who is built into the material, he will be interacting with the student. That is a kind of internalized study of the text, wherein he will rather experience that there is a teacher talking to him and he is listening to that. That is because of the conversational style of writing the course materials which are supplied to the students, because these are written by the trained teachers. Next is two-way personal communication, which I was talking in general, was advanced by Bath. He is a thinker in distance education. According to him, his pedagogical significance is there in the two-way communications, which can be taken care in the form of tutor comments. These tutor comments are written on the assignments. When the tutor writes comments, this may fall under any one of the categories. They are academic communication, which the teacher will guide as far as this particular content is concerned, this style of writing is concerned, this coverage of content is concerned, it is not adequate, you can improve like this. So clear cut guidance will be given. Such comments from the academic counselor on assignments is called academic communication, because his writings would facilitate the student, move him step by step. Next is personal communication. What is personal communication? This has nothing to do with this academic communication. Now, this will appeal to him personally. Yes, you appear to be a brilliant student. You have written excellently. Your understanding of the subject is very good. Like this, this kind of personal communication will enrich the motivational levels of the students, and they will be rather impressed to go more and more through the materials and develop more understanding. Similarly, supplemental communication. In the supplemental communication, teacher can provide a facility. Okay, I have done my level best regarding this assignment. Now you can improve. For that, you are free to write to me back at any point of time. I will respond to your thing. Feel free to write any time on any matter, so that you will feel that your needs are being addressed by the teacher. So that is the kind of supplemental communication that a teacher can do as a part of pedagogic comments. Next, the same two-way communication is possible through pre-enrollment counseling. This is required to the students who are not aware of which program he should enroll for, which courses he should opt for. So he can be guided. See, these are your qualifications, this is your age, this is the fees you can pay, this is how you can study, keeping in view your timings. So you can go for this program. It suits you. So these are the courses. Within that you can opt for. You will be in a position to do it better, and this would be more suitable for you. So this is how pre-enrollment counseling can be given by the teacher as a part of communication, which is a two-way. Next, types of comments that the distance teacher writes will have their own impact on the student. So these comments are rather positive as far as academic progression of a student is concerned, because the positive comments would help the student to take him further. If the comments are negative, or rather no comments which do not convey any meaning, then they won't help him. Like that, sometimes there may be misleading comments by the teacher, which teacher should avoid. Here, teacher in the sense who would be doing that counseling to the student or writing comments on the assignments, they must be very careful. So these are all the things. Next, human element. This David Stewart has introduced this, and this provides more input to the students, because he will come into contact with the teachers through face to face. So we have seen different aspects of distance education, or different features which cover distance, structure, media, two-way didactic communication, and individualized instruction to the vast masses of the students. Now, I think you have got the clear concept of distance education and its features and its scope. Thank you for having watched this program with patience. Thank you once again, one and all.